What's up, U.S. History? Okay, we're starting up a new page of journals. So your old set of journals should have already been submitted. You're done with those. Now, you always hold on to your notes. Don't get rid of your quarter 3 notes, because if you took any of those will come in handy on the semester 2 exam. But for journals, we start those fresh every quarter. So you should start up a brand new Google Doc today. And I would title it out like your name and maybe quarter 4 U.S. History Journals, something like that on there, so you can easily reference it and keep coming back to it week after week and adding to it. Remember, journals all stay on one Google Doc, and you'll have all of your journals. I would expect having roughly 10. We generally do about one a week. Those will get submitted in the last week of the quarter. Now, for quarter 4, journal number 1, a couple questions I'm throwing at you, and this one is definitely most ideal if you hear my questions out in this video message. First thing, and this is better, this question is better when we are in class face-to-face, because it's more designed to be an interactive discussion question, but it will work this way too. So I explained today in the notes, we're starting a unit called the Cold War, or the Cold War era. But Cold War, a lot of students are kind of like hazy on what is a Cold War? What does that mean? What's the difference between a Cold War and a hot war? I usually get a lot of different creative guesses there. So for the first part of this journal, I want you to just take some guesses for me. What do you think is the difference between a Cold War and a hot war? I'm going to give you the answer to this in a separate post that you should watch after answering this journal. Please don't skip ahead and like cheat and go look at mine. And because again, on journals, I'm not looking for you to have the right answer. I care much more about you just thinking a little bit and telling me, what would you guess a Cold War and a hot war are? So take your best guess at it. You can take multiple guesses at it. Explain your reasoning and logic to me. I enjoy looking at that. And if you just write in the right answer, guess what? You're not getting any more points. So if you go Google it or look at my response, my follow-up, that's not going to like overly impress me or anything like that, because I want to see creative guesses. What do you think Cold War and hot war are? And maybe you will guess it right. If you do, pat yourself on the back. That's awesome. But again, journals are, the point isn't, it's not a test. It's not a quiz. I'm looking for you to do a little bit of thinking. So what do you think is the difference between a Cold War and a hot war? That's for quarter 4, journal number 1. That would be question 1. Question 2, you're going to look at the political cartoon that I have posted. So if you wanted to, like after that first one, you could pause it, answer. Then when you're answering part 2 of this journal entry, you want to go look at the political cartoon that I have posted on a Google Doc. Check it out. It's a political cartoon from the late 1940s, right after World War II wrapped up, beginning of the Cold War era. Now, the British Prime Minister, who I talked about a little bit, Winston Churchill, who many historians regard as the most influential man of the 20th century, okay? Kind of a big name in world history. Anyway, he gave a lot of different famous speeches. One of his speeches was right after World War II, well, about 2 years after, I think, when he was talking to Parliament, and he said something to the effect of, an iron curtain has descended on the continent of Europe. And one half of the continent will be like living in darkness, and the other half will be living in freedom and light and all the good stuff. What does the metaphor Iron Curtain mean? And how does this political cartoon tie into it? So I'm going to ask you, describe it, and I'll have this listed off in the notes, but first off, describe what you see in that political cartoon. Just be very literal. Tell me what the artist drew. I want to know who is the influential person, the famous historical figure that's pictured in it, and then last up, how does this tie into, like, what does an iron curtain mean? What's kind of the metaphor here? What's the purpose behind this cartoon, and what's it talking about? And then I'll give kind of a follow-up response today, or answers to it in my follow-up post. So after you go take your best crack at answering it, then you can view my follow-up video. Again, I don't care if you have the right or wrong answer on journals. I'm looking for you to think a little bit and take your best guess in trying to make the class as interactive as I possibly can, while everything's kind of running remote. So good luck with that. If you have questions, let me know. Shoot me an